Hello friends, in this lecture we will know about multi-section solid. So multi-section solid command is used to blend multiple sketches along a path. In the rip command we have created a sweep of a profile along a path. It is similar to the rip tool, but in the multi-section solid we can select multiple geometries along multiple guides. So to understand this in more depth, I go to this file and let's open up a file. So click on this open. I select this file, that is multi-section 1. Select this file and click on open. And then drag this and then ground. Now in this profile we can see we have created 3 rectangles at some different planes. So this rectangle is at different plane, it is at some offset plane, and again it is at some offset plane. So we are going to create a blend of all these 3 sketches. So to understand this, I go to multi-section solid. Now in this window it is showing, so first of all we need to select the sections. After that we can select the guide curves. So I take the mouse inside the sketch. Let's say I will select this rectangle first. So we need to select these rectangles in the order. And then I will select the second rectangle. So right now I am not going to insert any guide, and click on preview and click OK. Now we can see these 2 rectangles are blended. So to make some more changes into this, I once again go to multi-section solid from this model tree, make it double click on this, and then we can also insert more sections into this. So make a click on this section. And then we can select this rectangle. Click on this rectangle and click on preview and click OK. So now we can see this rectangle is blended. So if I try to rotate this, we can have a better view. And now we can also see there is some curve feature inside this. So it means to create the blend, the software has inserted a curvature. So we can change the property of this curvature. Go to multi-section solid. In the coupling we have tangency, then curvature. So now it is following tangency. After that it is following curvature. And then we can also insert the guide curves. So click on this guide curves. In this guide we can see we have guide curves here. So let's zoom in. And then I select this curve as a guide curve. So make a click on this guide and then select this curve. And then we can also select multiple curves at a time. So I'm selecting this curve as a guide and similarly this curve, and click on preview and click OK. And now we can see this geometry is following this guide. So let's once again go to model tree, and then we can find some more options, like we can insert the guide of a spine. So we can select a spline from here. One more important option we can find, that is called coupling. So in this coupling, if I click on this arrow, we can see we have ratio, tangency, then curvature and vertices. So we will cover it after that. In the bottom side, to increase the smoothness, we have some more options like angular correction. If there is a distortion in this blend, we can make some angular correction into this. And then we have deviation. So once again, if there is some deviation, we can make some correction into this by using this option. So if you want to make some changes, I go to this section window. We can make a right click and then we can select remove, or we can select replace the point. Okay, and then we can also click on add after, add before. So the blends are created in a proper arrangement. It means we have to select these sketches in a systematical manner. So what will happen when I will select these sketches in non-systematical manner? So I go to this section option, make a right click and click on remove this. Remove. I remove the second sketch, make a right click and remove. I remove all the guide curves from here. Click on guide. Remove everything, select this remove and then remove. and then click OK. So it is not going to follow this, and then go to the section option and select this last rectangle. Make a right click, click on add, and then select this last rectangle and click on preview and click OK. So this time the blend has been created from this rectangle up to this last. So it has not considered the second. It means we have to follow all these sketches in a systematic way. After that we will learn about some more options in this. Now I go to file option, click on this open, and then open this file, that is multi-section 2. Select this file and click on open. So go to view and click on ground. In this profile we can see we have a rectangle and then we have a circle. So in this I am going to make a multi-section of this. So click on this option of multi-section solid, select this rectangle and then select the circle, and then click on preview. Now it is showing an error that current coupling mode cannot be applied. Change the coupling mode to ratio or add or remove the guide. So what is the meaning of this? Now we need to understand why it is showing the error. If I take a look at this rectangle, we can see it has 4 sections. It means it has 4 endpoints. 1, 2, 3, 4. But in the circle we can see we don't have any point. So in these types of situation where equal number of points are not available, we need to use this coupling option. So go to coupling. We cannot select this tangency option, so we need to select this ratio. Click on this ratio and then click on preview and click OK. Now it has created a section solid, but now we can see it is not a proper solid because we can see there is a twisting and there is deviation. And now we are going to solve this problem. To solve this problem, we need to break this circle into 4 different sections. So for this, I select this multi-section, make a right click and click on delete. Make a uncheck on this delete aggregate element and click OK. And then isometric view. So this circle has been created into this sketch 2. So select this sketch 2, make a double click on this and then fit view. Let's zoom in. And now I go to line command, click on this line and then select construction line because we want to draw these lines as a reference. So draw a line from this end point and make sure this line is passing through the center. It may be possible that this line may not pass through the center. So draw a line like this and then we need to draw one more line that is passing through this point up to this point. Okay. And then make a uncheck on this construction mode. Now I am going to make 4 points at this intersection. So make a double click on this point command. And now we can see this circle is highlighting and this center line is also highlighting. So at the point when both are highlighting, make a click. So this point is at the intersection of the circle and this reference line. So once again, we need 4 endpoints. So draw this point like this. Once again a point and then another point. And then press escape. And now we have broken this circle into 4 different segments. It means we have 4 reference points. So we can click on this exit workbench and then I go to multi-section solid. So click on this and then select this first section and then select the second section. Click on preview. Now once again it is showing that coupling cannot be made because both the sketches have equal sections. So we cannot use the ratio option. So I can click OK and then click on coupling and then click on this. We can select this ratio tangency. So I select this ratio and then go to coupling. So in this coupling, make a right click and click on add. We can also select this add option from here. So click on this add option. Now in this window, it is showing that we need to select the point. So let's zoom in here drag it and then zoom in. Click for the first point, click on this first point and click for the second point. And now we can see a guide curve. This guide curve is a coupling curve. So if you want to add some more curves, go to this coupling, make a right click and click on add. And select this end point and then end point of the circle. Similarly, we have 4 points, so we need to select 2 more points. Right click and then add. Select this point and then this point. Once again, right click. Okay, let's click here. Right click and then add. Select this point and then a point here. Okay, it is not added. So we can select it again according to our requirement. Okay, and then click OK. So I make a click on this coupling and then remove. Once again I click on this add. Select this add. Select this point and then select this point. Okay, it is not selected properly. So we can do this by selecting 3 couplings. Click OK, make a right click and remove this and click on preview. Click OK. So basically now what we can see that we have a better multi-section solid than the last. So if I zoom in here, we can see this blend is following these guide curves. So that is the advantage of inserting the coupling. Okay, so we can see this blend here. So in this way we can create the multi-section solids. In this lecture, we will know how to create 3D points. To understand this, we will open up a file. So I go to file option and click on open. In this, I will select this file, that is point3D. Select this file and click on open. In this file, we can see we have created some geometry. We have surface, we have curves and we have arcs. First of all, we will know how to find out the 3D point command. Right now we can see the toolbar for datum feature. In the datum feature, we have point, we have 3D line and we have datum plane. Now to show this toolbar, we have to go to this view option, go to view, toolbar. In here, go to reference element and we have to select extended element. So we have to make a check on this reference element extended. So now I select 3D point. Click on this point option. In this point, the first thing it is showing point type. If I click on this arrow, we can see we have different types of creating the point. Coordinate, on curve, on plane, on surface, circle center, tangent on curve, between. So we are going to start with this coordinate. Click on this option of coordinate. In this coordinate option, we can see we have XYZ coordinate. So we just have to insert the value of XYZ coordinate. In the bottom side, right now it is showing point. So we can select any point as a reference. By default, the software will take the origin as a default point. After that, we can select our axis system. So right now, XYZ is our axis system. We can also create our custom system. So it is taking the default system. And now insert the value of XYZ. So I am taking this value, X is 70, Y is 100 and Z is 120 and click on OK. And now a point has been created. The next option in this point is, I click on this point. The next option is on curve. So I select this option of on curve and let's zoom in onto this curve. So I have this curve that is representing by this blue color. I want to create a point onto this curve. Now the first thing it is showing selection of curve. We need to select the curve onto which we want to create the point. So I select this curve here. And now it is showing a preview of a point. Now we have to specify the exact location of this point. To specify the location, we have 3 options. Distance on curve, distance along direction, ratio of curve length. I select distance on curve. Now we can select the distance. So this distance is 192 and this distance is calculated from this endpoint. We can select our custom point from where the distance will be measured. For this, we need to select on this point reference. Click on this point reference. So let's say I select this point as a reference. Click on this point. Now the distance is measured from the projection of this point. This point is projected onto the curve and then distance is measured. So I click here and now we can see a preview of the distance. I click here and click OK. And now a point has been created here at a distance that is specified. So once again I go to this point option. This is the point. Make a double click on this. In this point, the second option is distance along direction. Click on this and now we can specify a distance along a direction. So direction can be a datum plane or any curve or any arc. So right now the distance along direction, I want to take this line as a direction. Click on this direction and now the point will be created along the direction of this line. And now we have to specify the offset distance. Now we can see a projection of this point has been taken and distance is measured from the perpendicular direction with respect to this point. Now we can insert this value of distance. Let's say I take this value 200. Click preview and now we can see the point has been created. The third option in this is ratio with respect to curve length. I click on this option. Now the ratio of the curve is taken. So this ratio will be taken from this reference point because we have selected this point as a reference. So if I take this value 0.5, at the value of 0.5, the point will be created at the middle of the curve. So let's increase this value. When I increase this value, now we can see the point is going outward because the ratio of this curve from this length up to the total length is now 0.6. So when I increase this value, now we can see the ratio is increasing, so the distance is also increasing. In the bottom side, we have two options, geodesic and Euclidean. So if I click on this option of Euclidean, and now we can see the reference is taken directly from this point. Okay, so right now there is no projection and we can see this arrow is coming from this point. So that is the difference. In the geodesic, the distance is measured from the projection of that point. Okay, so right now I'm selecting geodesic and then we have option of reversing the direction. We can reverse the direction according to our requirement and click OK. So now we can see the point has been created. Once again I go to point option. The third option of creating the point is point with respect to a datum plane. I click on this plane option. So we have created a datum plane. Let's zoom out. We have our default datum plane. Now we are going to create a point with respect to this plane. So now it is asking us to select a plane. So let's say I select this plane, that is ZX plane. Click on this plane and now we have to specify the value of horizontal and vertical axis with respect to this plane. So when I drag the mouse, we can see the preview of the point is showing. We can insert the dimension. I click here and now we can see the point has been created at the specified distance. In this option, we can also specify an existing point as a reference. So I make a double click on this point. I can select this reference point. So I select this reference point and let's say I select this point as a reference. And now the point will be created onto this ZX plane with respect to this point. So the distance is measured from this point. Now we can also project it on any surface. So right now we don't have any surface, so I am clicking OK. The next option of creating the point is point on surface. Click on this and then go to this surface. So we have created this surface. Let's rotate it like this. Now first thing it is asking us to select a surface. So I select the surface, and then we need to specify a direction for the point. So when I drag the mouse, we can see a point is created. So we can select this distance. I click here and we can select this reference of point. Right now it is showing default middle. So we can select our custom point from which the distance is measured. So we can insert this value of distance and click OK. So the point will be created onto this surface. Once again go to point, and the next option is circle center. So it will create the point at the center of this profile. Click on this. So we have created a circular section. Now we just have to select the surface of that circle. So I click on this. Now we have a surface. So click here and now we can see a point has been created at the center. So when I rotate this, we can have a better preview. Let's zoom out and then rotate it. Okay, so I click OK. Once again, point, and then go to tangent on curve. With this option, we can create point that is tangent on the curve. So I go to this curve once again. So first thing, we have to select a curve. Click on this curve, and then we need to select a direction. So direction will be this line. And now in the direction of this line, the point has been created where there is a tangency with respect to this curve. Now we can see at these 3 points there is tangency. So the point has been created. I click OK. So it will ask us to select multi-result management. So I click OK from here and then click OK. Click point, and the last option we have is the between. So we can create point between two existing points. So I zoom in onto this surface. I go to this between. We need to select 2 points. So this is the first point, and let's say this is the second point. And then we can select a support. So right now we don't have any support. So the ratio we can take 0.5 if we want to create the point at the midpoint, or we want to create the point if we want to create the point at the middle. So I click OK, and now the point has been created at the middle. So in this way we can create the datum points. Hello friends, in this lecture we will continue with datum features and we will know how to create 3D lines. So first of all, we will have to open up a file. Go to file and click on open, and open this file, that is lines, and click on open. So in this file we can see we have created some geometry, and now we are going to create lines into this. So let's rotate this to have a better view, and then go to the line option. So in this datum feature, go to 3D lines. In this 3D line, another window will open. In this window, first thing it is showing line type. So when I click on this arrow, we have point, point direction, angle normal, tangent to curve, normal to surface, and bisecting. So I will start with this point. Click on this point to point. With this option, we can create a line using 2 reference points. So we need to select 2 points. So let's say I have these 2 points. Zoom in here. First point will be this point, and the second point will be the end point of this curve. So select this end point, and now we can see a preview of a line. So in this line we have some more options. The first thing, it is showing support. So we can select any reference for support. We can select any surface or any curve. We will cover it later, how to use this support option. And then we have start option. In this start option, we can insert a numerical value of the start, or we can select any reference by selecting this up to option. So let's select the start value. I increase this value of the start, and now we can see the change into the start. So let's drag it and zoom in here. So when I increase this value, the start value is taking at this offset distance. Similarly, we can also select this end value. So right now I don't have any reference. So we can select any reference for the end up to the second, or we can select any end point. So the end point is this reference point of the curve. We cannot go beyond this reference point. And then we have length type. In the length type, we have 4 options. We can select length. With this option, it will create the line up to the specified point. And then we have infinite starting point. With this option, the starting point will be infinite. And then infinite line. So it will create infinite line on both the ends. Similarly, we have infinite line at the end point. So it will create infinite at the end point. So the best option we can select is length and click OK. So the second option of creating the line is go to line, click on this arrow. We have point and direction. I click on this. So in this geometry, let's zoom in onto the surface. Onto the surface, we need to select a point. So first thing, we need to select a point here. I click on this point. And then we need to specify a direction. So it is not taking the edge. We need to select a line for this. So let's say I select this line we have created. Select this line as a direction, and then we need to select the support. So the support, we can select this surface. I select this surface as a support, and this line will be created onto this surface. So we can select a reference for the starting point. So we can increase or decrease this value like this. We can increase this or we can decrease this. So let's increase this value like this. And then we have end point. So we can select end for the reference and click OK. And now we can see a 3D line has been created onto this surface. The line is specifying into this white color. So I go to line, and the next option in this line is angle and normal line to the curve. I click on this option. So first thing, it is asking us to select a curve. So let's say I will select any curve. So I select this curve as a reference curve. Select this line, and then we need to select a point. So point will be the reference onto which the line will be created. So I select this point as a reference, and then we can select a support system. So support system means we can select a plane or any surface as a reference. By default, it will take plane as a reference. So I select this surface as a support. So it is not taking this support properly. So let's try this surface as a support. And then the angle it is specifying 45 degree. So the angle will be created with respect to this line and the angle value is 45. And in the similar way, we can select the value of the starting and end point and click OK. So now we can see this line that is created is at angle of 45 degree. Similarly, we can also make this line normal. I go to this model tree, double click on this line 5, and then we can select normal to the curve. When I select this normal, the angle will be 90 degree, and then click OK. Before this, we have one more option, that is repeat object after OK. So when I make a check on this and click OK, now another window will open. So in this window, we can increase the number of instances. Number of instances means the number of lines that will be created. So by this option, we can increase this value. So let's say I take 2, and then mode of repetition. Repetition means the reference with respect to which it will create the multiple objects. So it is absolute or relative. Absolute means all the values will be calculated from the first reference. And relative means the values will be taken from the adjacent lines that are created. So I am taking this absolute, instances is 2, and click OK. And now we can see 2 lines has been created. like so we can see it from here. Once again go to line. The next option in the line is tangent to the curve. So we have this curve here. I go to this curve. Let's rotate this and then zoom in. So I have these two curves and I want to create tangent to the lines. So first of all we need to select a curve. I select this curve and then we need to select the element 2. So element 2 will be the reference onto which the tangent will be created. Take the end point and the vertex of this point and then we can see a tangent line has been created. So in the type option we can select mono or bitangent. First I am selecting this mono tangent. Similarly we have start and end point and click on OK. So I go to this line from this model tree, make a double click on this and we have one more option, that is bitangent. So I will select this bitangent. Okay, so we need to delete this. I delete this line, right click and delete. Once again I go to line. So I will select bitangent. And then we need to select the curves. I select this curve and select this curve. So now we have selected both the curves. Two tangent will be created with respect to these curves. Now we can see in this blue color it is showing two tangent and the third possible tangent will be from this point to this point directly. So I can click OK. So the tangent will be created from this curve up to the next curve. Click line and the next option will be normal to the surface. So with this option we can create a line that is at a 90 degree to the surface. So let's zoom in onto the surface. First thing we need to select a surface. I select the surface and then we need to select a point. So I select this point and then a normal line will be created. So we can select the length of the line, start point, end point and click OK. Once again line, and the last option in this is the bisecting. So we can create line that is at the bisector. So for this I will have to draw two lines. So let's say I go to this point. From this point up to any point I draw a line. So I have these two lines here. Click OK and once again line and then I go to bisecting. We need to select two lines. So this is first line and this is the second line. And now we can see a line will be created at the bisector. So I take start value as 0. Okay, start value 0 and the end value I take 50 and let's check whether this value, okay, this value is going outside. So we need to insert, we can insert this value as a negative. Let's see when we insert this value negative. Okay, now it is going inward. So if I increase this value negative 150 like, let's check this. Okay, so now line is created at the bisector. So the angle will be equal on the both side, from this left side and the right side. And click OK. Hello friends, in this lecture we will know how to create our custom datum planes. In Catia software, as we already know, we have three default datum planes. We have XY plane, YZ plane and ZX plane. When we create any sketch, we will create the sketches onto the plane. But sometimes we need to create our custom datum planes. So to create those datum planes, we need to use the datum feature. We can find this datum feature in the reference element toolbar. This is datum plane. So when I click on this, we have multiple options of creating the datum plane. The first thing is offset from the plane. I click on this option. With this option, we can create any plane with respect to any existing plane. So we can create the offset of plane. We just have to select the reference. So let's say I select this plane as a reference, XY plane, and then we need to insert the offset value. So let's zoom out here to have a better view. And now we can see in this preview, a datum plane has been created at the offset distance of 20. We can insert any value of this offset and then if we want to flip it, we can reverse the direction. Click on this reverse and the plane will be created in the reverse direction. So click reverse once again and then click OK. So datum planes are shown by a rectangle, but generally datum planes are infinite in size. And then we have some more options of creating the datum plane. For this, we will open up a file, go to this file option, open. In your project file, select this file, that is planes, and then open. In this file, we can see we have created an object. We have created this object by using the pad command. So now let's rotate this. I want to rotate this into this view, zoom out, and then we will create some datum planes with respect to this object. So I go to plane and then I will select the first option, offset from plane. Earlier we have created a plane with respect to any existing plane, but now we can offset the plane with respect to any surface. So if I select the top surface in this reference and then insert the value of offset, let's say I select this value 5 and then click on preview, and now we can see the datum plane has been created with respect to this top surface. So when I make a check on this repeat object after OK, check on this and click OK, we can create multiple instances. So I want 2 instances, it means, so I click OK, and now we can see it has created 2 more datum planes at the equal distance. So I select this plane from this model tree, right click and delete, and click OK. So it is not deleting. Okay, after that once again I go to plane and then I go to parallel through point. Click on this. So in this we can create a datum plane that is reference to any plane or any surface, and then that is parallel to a point. Let's say I want to create a datum plane with respect to the surface. So the reference will be this surface, and then we can select a datum point. So I select this point, let's say this is point. Okay, and click OK. And now datum plane has been created with respect to this point. Once again plane, and then angle and normal to plane. Click on this option and we can create a plane that is at some angle. We need to select rotational axis. So let's say I select this edge as axis of rotation, and then we need to select the reference. So reference, we can select any datum plane or any surface. So I select this top surface and then insert the angle values. So I select this value 45 and click OK. And now when I zoom in, we can see a datum plane has been created at the angle of 45 degree. So this plane is passing through this line. It is at angle with respect to this top surface. Once again plane, and then I go to next option, that is plane through 3 points. For this we need to select 3 reference point. Let's say this is the first point, this is the second point, and this is the third point, so this end point. And now this plane is passing through all these points. Okay, all these points are in the same plane, so we can select point that are in the different plane. Once again I go to this 3D point and then go to point through 3 point. This time we will select the point that are not in the same plane. So let's zoom in onto this surface. I select this first point, this second point, this is the second point, and then the third point I will select this end point. So all these are not in the same plane, and click OK. So now we can see this plane will be passing through all these points. Go to plane. Next option is through 2 lines. So by this option the plane will pass through 2 reference lines. So for this I will select 2 lines. So let's say I zoom in and I will select the line here. So this will be the first line, and its opposite line will be second. So this is first line and then we can select its opposite line. This is the second line, and click OK. And now we can see this plane will be passing through these two lines. Once again plane, and the next option in this through point and a line. So in this we can select a point and a line as a reference. For the point I select this point, and then we can select this line. So we need to select some different reference. So let's say I select this point. Okay, take the object here. I select this point. So we need to change the point here. So I select this point as a reference and click OK. And now we can see this plane will pass through this point and line. And we have some more option to create the plane. For this, I cancel this and we will open one more file. Go to File option, click on Open, and then go to Plane 1 and click on Open. So in this file, zoom in onto this curve and then go to Plane, and then go to the next option, that is Through Planar Curve. So we can select a curve as a reference. So I select this curve, and now this plane will pass through the plane of this curve, and then we can move this. So when I drag this plane, we can move it, but this plane will always be in the plane of this curve. Okay, so I click OK here, and then go to next option. Next option is normal to the curve. So in this we need to select a curve, and then we need to select a point. So I select this curve, and by default it will take the middle point as a reference. So we can select over any custom point and click OK. So now this plane is passing through this curve, and also it will pass through the middle point. Once again plane, and that is tangent to the surface. So let's go to the surface. We have a surface here. So I select this surface, and then we need to select a point. So I select this point, and now this plane is normal to this surface and it is passing through this point. Click OK. Once again plane. Then we can create a plane by the equation. The equation it will follow is ax plus by plus cz equal to d. Okay, so we can insert the value of a, b, c, d according to our requirement. And the next option is mean through point. So with this option we can select multiple points as a reference, and the software will take the mean of all those points. So let's say I select this point of the curve and then select this point of the curve and click OK. So we need to select some more references, add some more point. So now it is taking the mean of all these 3 points and click OK. So these are some different ways of creating the datum planes.